What's up, Fox10 Fox here, and every single time a new demanding game comes out, I look longingly at my Samsung Book 2 Pro 360, which looks like a deer in headlights every single time I get that sparkle in my eye to play a super demanding video game on its paltry Iris Xe graphics. And today is no different as we dive into Modern Warfare 2 and see how it does on the old beast. It's not old per se, it's just not a gaming laptop. It's got an i7 1260p, which is more than enough to power a GPU, but there is no dedicated GPU in this machine. Instead, we have Intel Iris Xe graphics, which are still the most modern Intel laptop graphics available. The 1260p has 4 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores for a total of 12 threads, so it's nothing super special, but it is more than enough to power an equivalent to a GTX 1050 or even 1030 that we see with the Intel Iris Xe graphics. But can it run Call of Duty? Let's find out. All benchmarks were done with the in-game benchmark tool recorded via MSI Afterburner, so it is a consistent test throughout. However, the gameplay shown is going to be different, and in fact, most of the time, in-game gameplay is actually performing better than the benchmark. With that said, the benchmark keeps things consistent, so you'll be able to see which settings work best for you. So let's hop right into native 1080p at the lowest settings. We saw an average frame rate of 25 with a 1% low of 4 and a 0.1% low of 3. So nothing spectacular happening here. 30 FPS I consider to be quote unquote playable on a system like this. Expecting 60 is pretty much unheard of, yet we will get back to that later. Especially on a AAA demanding game like this, 30 FPS is fine, but unfortunately native 1080p at the lowest settings was unable to hit that barrier. Therefore, 1080p is unplayable. Now at native 720p with the lowest settings, we saw an average frame rate of 38 with a 1% low of 19 and a 0.1% low of 10. So a much better showing throughout, obviously, since it is a lower resolution, but it still wasn't anything spectacular, and there were still 1% and 0.1% low issues that dropped the decent average frame rate close to 40 FPS below playable frame rates. Now, usually I'd say 720p is fine, but these days we have technology. And that is where the results are absolutely striking. In Modern Warfare, there is no option for FSR to be like super performance or anything like that. My guess is that the algorithm picks what FSR you use depending on your hardware. Now with FSR enabled at 1080p with the lowest settings, we saw an average frame rate of 44, a 1% low of 24, and a 0.1% low of 22. So although the 1% 0.1% lows still leave a bit to be desired, the fact that we were able to get more frame rate out of FSR 1080p than we were of native 720p shows the leaps and bounds that FSR is taking. Obviously, this game is rendering at well below 720p with FSR enabled, but it looks crisp enough to pass as at least 720p with this algorithm, so I definitely recommend playing with FSR on. And unsurprisingly, that news only gets better when we switch FSR enabled and 720p with the lowest settings. We saw an average frame rate of 52, a 1% low of 30, and a 0.1% low of 24. So again, this is rendering at well below native 720p. We're looking at probably half of that, if not less, but it upscales up to 720p and doesn't look absolutely atrocious on the eyes, but it is hard to play because the pixels are definitely getting jagged at this point. However, if you want a close to 60 FPS experience without destroying your eyes, FSR enabled 720p does perform really well, and as I said earlier, multiplayer maps tend to perform better than the benchmark, and I was seeing 60 FPS in most parts of the multiplayer test. But if that's not enough for you, if you are okay with looking at the fuzziest picture in existence, like 1800s level quality Modern Warfare 2, you can drop the resolution down to 480p. Now that's not anything new, but you can also enable FSR at 480p. So you are looking at below 480p upscaled to 480p at the lowest possible settings, and we saw an average frame rate of 62 with a 1% low of 35 and a 0.1% low of 17. So if you need a 60 FPS experience, congratulations, you can have it with Intel Iris Xe graphics, and more power to you if you somehow manage to play this game at this resolution, because Modern Warfare all Call of Duty games, their anti-aliasing is garbage, so jagged lines are to be expected. It looks like a smudgy, jagged mess, and I don't recommend playing like this, but at the same time, it is possible if you need that 60 FPS experience. And that's it for the benchmarks, and I was just absolutely flabbergasted by FSR and how good it's gotten recently, because I've measured similar graphics cards way back in the day. I'm talking like the RX 550 in 2021 or 2020, and the way that it has evolved to actually run games at 60 FPS on weak hardware like this is very impressive. So I gotta give it to AMD. And if you want to see me do like NVIDIA image scaling and the other upscaling option that's available, let me know in the comments down below. But FSR was far and away the most impressive one, and absolutely destroyed benchmarks. I was very impressed by it. So those are my findings. If you like this video, like, subscribe, do what you usually do, and as always, buy yourself something nice.